This is kind of feels like coming home again. So it is good to see some faces that I haven't seen for a long time. So this is really great to be here, and thank you for the opportunity, and Amy getting us in here so quickly. So my name is Dallin Coyle, and Daniel Bauman here. He's with me, and we're the founders of Sotrack. Daniel's the founder, and I'm co-founder here. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about ourselves. We actually grew up together, a small town in Idaho, and we spent a lot of time outdoors, exploring, just learning and being a part of the great outdoors. A lot of that was beneficial to us. At the time, we really didn't know it, but there are a lot of benefits that come when children play outdoors independently. Self-confidence and self-esteem. They build, muscle strength and interact with other kids. So there's a lot of social aspects that come into play and are very beneficial to them. As we have become parents, we have noticed that it is more difficult for our kids to get out and be a little more independent from us. And that's maybe the helicopter parenting style that has come into play. But we realize the need for them to do that, but yet we haven't felt like there's a good way for that to happen necessarily. So I've looked into smartwatches for kids, as Daniel has as well, and there really isn't very good options available. There's a couple manufacturers that exist right now. Apple, you know where they sit in the marketplace. Very, very high quality, very high price, not really great for children. And the Gizmo watch, which is sold primarily through Verizon, is really kind of the market dominance there in kids' smartwatches. And the Google reviews on those are like 2.7 stars on those. Pretty expensive. The price is starting to come down, but then you have to go through Verizon. You get a plan through them. There's still a $40 activation fee on those, and then you've got the monthly subscription on those, and just really not great. And there's some other ones that kind of come into play, but they're not really significant. So the market size there, you can see globally, it's a pretty good size. In the U.S., also 364 million as of 2018, and it's growing in the kids' smartwatch division. So what we wanted to do is we kind of took a look at the existing offering that exists and wanted to do something a little bit different. One of the top complaints is the short battery life. Okay, the battery life typically is about a day. Okay, so the kids need to take it off, charge it every night, and oftentimes they're not remembering to put it back on before they go to school. They go off to school or play or whatever it is, and it becomes useless. Parents are paying on a monthly plan that really isn't providing any benefit. The product was expensive in the first place. So what some manufacturers do is they transmit the GPS coordinates of the watch less frequently to preserve battery life. But then you've got the trade-off that you don't have real-time data on the location of your children. So there's some things that come into play there. Poor screens, poor graphics, screens crack. Some neighbors of mine have the Gizmo watches for 3 of their kids, and the bands break, and the bands are really expensive to replace on them, so they're really kind of unhappy with that. I had one of the neighbor boys come over. He's like 6, so he came over to go on our slip and slide. So they came, took off his watch, didn't want to get it wet, and was playing all afternoon. So his parents really couldn't get in touch with him if they needed to. They knew where the watch was, not necessarily where he was. And then later he called his mother from our house, and the speaker was so poor, he was holding it up like this, right to his ear, and he could barely hear her. She could hear him, but that was kind of the interaction that was going on. So it was pretty poor. So what we have decided to do, and Daniel came up with these ideas here, is to get past the idea of poor battery life, having a solar panel as the watch face. Now you think, how do you do that with a watch? Well, we now have the ability to put Amazon Alexa into the watch. So it's all voice controlled. So we're calling this the voice watch. It's all voice controlled. It comes with Amazon Alexa and all of the 100,000 skills that it has. You can stream music through it, through Amazon Alexa, right on your watch. The kids can listen to music on the speaker on the watch. Preserve the battery life with the solar panel. So approximately we're thinking that it would need to be charged maybe once a week. So the kids are going to be able to leave it on, not necessarily take it off until the parents get notification, hey, the watch battery is getting a little bit low. You can go ahead and charge it overnight. And that way we think that you can build a better habit with wearing the device. So with that, you're going to be able to have unlimited calls, messaging, data, streaming through the device, GPS tracking in real time, including historical data, what routes they took or whatever it may be. There's oftentimes when my kids will lose something. Well, where were you last? Like, follow your tracks. Well, this can help them kind of, retrace their steps. Geofences, no-go zones, water resistance, so they can bath and shower, play in the slip and slide, whatever it may be, and keep it on. The parents know where they are. They can contact the parent, or the parent can get in touch with them. Something else that we are developing with this is because there's an accelerometer in the watch and so forth. We're going to develop AI-enabled stories where we can encourage activity, exercise, collaboration, teamwork through these stories. And because of the accelerometer, you will progress through the storyline as the kids are doing these certain tasks that are inside of the storyline. So the watch, we're planning on pricing that around $100. That's kind of where the market is. I think that maybe we should go a little bit higher because I think we kind of have a premium product. We're not as premium as Apple, but anything else that exists out there really isn't great. Our monthly plans will probably be around $10 a month for data, unlimited, everything. And that'll go through AT&T or Verizon. We haven't decided on that yet. And so people don't have to go and get a activation fee somewhere with their cellular service. You can integrate with the parent's phone, but the data is already enabled. You just have to turn it on and get going. So it's really simple and easy. Not sure what happened there. I believe some pictures. I'm not sure what was going on there. We've got some of the devices that we have. These are the shell, the casing. And I think those are some of the pictures that I had there. But you can see them right here up on the table after we're done. So kind of the next steps, we have the cases built here, some early cases from that. We've ordered the internal components for the prototypes, and we're really close to being ready to start working on our Kickstarter campaign. So that's kind of the next step is finish our website, get ready for the Kickstarter campaign, and get that launched. Anyway, and then you can see some additional things that we're working on there. So that's Sotrack.
One question that I had for you that I think is pretty neat and cool is how this is going to be like connecting with parents' phones and just that syncing and contact. So is there an app that you are developing as well? Is that how this is all going to be running off of, or what is that linking kind of looking like?
Yeah, that's great. I'm not sure if I could show it, but yeah, we've got an app developed right now. And yeah, so it'll show, I mean, you can integrate it, and then you can show like which child it is, There's other markets as well, like elderly or vulnerable adults, to track their whereabouts, the geofencing if they wander off and so forth. So there's that market there. There's a pet tracker that we're also thinking about. So you can plug in there any of these units that you have and who it belongs to, track their whereabouts, the geofencing along with all of those, step count, etc. Good question. Any follow-up to that? No? Okay, great. Darren?
Dallin,
Yeah.
really cool, and definitely something every parent would want their kid to have. When you look at this, have you guys looked at how much power you can generate from that size of a solar panel?
So, Daniel, you want to answer? Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, the power requirement of the watts itself is actually really small. So everything is built as like an IoT device. So it's made to run on basically a 10-year battery. But because of the cellular just by itself uses a lot of power. Bluetooth is the Bluetooth low energy version, so it uses really low power. So, technically you could run just off of the solar panel itself if you're not streaming data, listening to music, talking to Alexa, those types of things. And so the power requirements, we're talking milliwatts, but it's roughly, 50 milliwatt.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Jim.
Hard question.
Yep.
Hard
Good.
questions because I know you.
Yeah, please.
Why are you going Kickstarter first? I mean, your validation shows that a Kickstarter is going to be able to sustain what you're looking at doing without, because from my experience and seeing hundreds of businesses use Kickstarter, that's a false start because that's a very different audience. That's an impulse buying market who are only Kickstarters. And so my question is, have you looked at maybe other routes initially, co-packaging with somebody else who's in the marketplace really big and wants to get out there to kids, other sponsors who are trying to attract a youth audience? I'll just throw out a company, let's just say Under Armour, who's looking at a new audience for kids and saying, why don't you get somebody big like that, put their branding on it, and go out that way? I'm just saying, I don't trust Kickstarter anymore because it gives a false information. And so you base a lot of what you're doing, your growth, on a quick, big play Kickstarter. Ask the guys who have the beehives. They're dead now. They $23 million. They went through the money, and people aren't buying them. Just that group bought them, and they went massive production. And so, you think you're going to do really well. That's why I just kind of have you really done your homework, validation, saying, yeah, Kickstarter is going to do well for us. We have this other validation that says this is our market. We can get funding and distribution.
It's a really good question. And we haven't, no, I don't think that we have looked closely at partnering with anybody yet. Yeah, we've done some surveys to get some validation. We think that there's demand there. We think that there's a market there. We would buy it. We've got kids, Yeah. So we think that that's there. And up to this point, it's been bootstrapped. And I think that's kind of where we were, or I think where we were kind of thinking is being able to get a little bit of influx in cash and get some units out and then be ready for the holiday season. So it wasn't really much. What we were trying to do, I think, is here soon start doing some marketing and pushing our target market to Kickstarter. Because there's kind of this threshold that needs to be hit. And if we just drive that market to our website, that's great. But if we don't hit a certain threshold, right. So there's a little bit of risk there. But I think that if we've got enough market fit, then maybe there's a trade-off. There's a little bit of risk we could take and maybe hit that. Margins are roughly 50%, both on the data plan, and also the unit. So, if we get some orders, I think that we might be able to kind of self-fund that. Working with another manufacturer or something like that, or partnering with somebody. I think it's a good idea, but we can definitely look into that. Follow up, yeah.
Well, the secondary one with that is what we just talked. I forgot her name, but Marissa is going to the insurance companies. I have a son who's handicapped, grandson, and so the carrier who insures him is concerned because if he's lost, if he has an accident, they pay for that. You know, because he's got to go to the doctor. Or my dad, who's extreme Alzheimer's, forgetful, you know, and the insurance company, he gets an accident, he wanders, they're paying for that. And so maybe there's some ways to look at getting them to sponsor and say, here are some solutions for those issues you're going to have, and give you some more working capital that's not necessarily a sponsorship, but hey, we can distribute this through this area. It's a little more effective.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. The adult market is really kind of interesting. There's a lot of devices out there that once again are very poor. The battery is an issue for them. And somebody with Alzheimer's, they take it off to charge it. They're probably not going to remember to put it back on, right? And if they're not streaming, if they're not using the data and so forth, it's just there to kind of protect them. It really could last indefinitely. And you can shower with it, fall detection built in. It can notify emergency contacts. It's all there. The market is there. That this fits a lot of things. What we had really kind of decided, the Kickstarter campaign had started off, we were going to kind of do everything, every market, and kind of focus, but that was just kind of too much, and the messaging was getting kind of messy. So we thought we'd first start in the market that was more differentiated. Like, there's nothing that really exists out there as good as what we can develop, we think. And so we wanted to start there, and then within the next few months after that, then start focusing on some of these other areas. But I like your point that we might be able to get some adoption by people who are already paying for the protection of these individuals, insurance companies, and so forth. Great point. Thank you.
I'm just thinking, Dallin, of what's really hot in the topic right now, and out in the public's eye is Underground Railroad and children being trafficked and taken, and Elizabeth Smart situation, and if you could get some testing done to prove, with the safety features of this and the trackability features of this, you'd probably have some support from people that that this would go to support and help, and parents would feel really good about having someone like that back it. That's a lot of work on your part to be able to prove that and be able to gain their I guess endorsement.
Yeah.
But it could help a lot.
Oh, that's a great idea.
I agree with Jim's take on Kickstarter. Maybe a different direction. You could still get the same benefit of having pre-orders beforehand and not giving up some of that margin.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Any other questions?
Well, we got our classic question that we ask all. What can the 1MC community do best for you?
Yeah, so we, sharing the message, I think, would be really great for people that you know. I think that's really kind of would be helpful to us. We also, we're at the point of discussing we wanted to hit the Kickstarter goal and to get going and then look for additional funding to actually scale this. So people who may be interested in, the product that we're offering, some connections there would be great. And, the comments have been really great. The last thing that just kind of, from anybody who wants to comment, the position that I've discussed with kind of being on the higher end, so kind of a premium product, does that seem like that fits right with the description of what I have described? Jim?
There's a school, a friend of mine runs in for October, and it's very not even close to what people staff, I don't think there's a question about it. We need to mark, but yeah, these break expenses is good. And within your system, you could have a give back program. But initially, you're going to say, well, we want to get to everybody so they're going to cheaper. And it doesn't work. So you want them to come to the streaming model to work well. And if you built it in the corporate structure, we're going to allocate X dollars to this way to use it.
Interesting.
And that's not going to play and say,
Sure. Sure. Yes. Okay. Sure. Sure. Sure.
that as well. So I would pay up to $1,000 for
Hmm.
a premium watch that functions the way an Apple Watch would.
Great. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, Jim.
So that's cool that, Underground Railroad, might be another way they already have a great following. Doug's a relative of mine. And so, that might be a way to look at, and instead of Kickstarter, talking to that group about their supporters, et cetera. Huge, big, it's really growing fast. They're nonprofit, but that might be just tapping to their customer base.
Sure. Thank you. Yeah. Follow up over here. Good.
So there's actually a investment group that is in Lehigh that partners with the Harmon Brothers. They launch like Purple. They
Yep.
launch. So they have a $100 million fund right now that's going towards consumer products like this.
Okay.
And part of what they do is invest in products that the Harmon Brothers then help launch.
I see.
That's a good way to get funding and also
Marketing.
have a great marketing
Yeah.
partner. And the Harmon Brothers are invested in the investment group. I could make an introduction for you if you'd like.
Okay. Thank you. I really appreciate that. There was something that had come to my mind, and now it's skipped me, I believe. So yeah, I have a high functioning autistic sister-in-law as well, and so there's that market. Also, there's a lot going on right now with kids and screen time and social media and the mental toll that can take on them and so forth. And so this kind of allows us to have something that, sometimes there's the Gab phone that exists out there, but it's your kids are going to compare themselves with somebody who's got an iPhone and then the Gab phone, and then it's really not necessarily a phone. It's really kind of really dumbed down and say that again. They just launched a watch. Fascinating. And so we really think that this is completely different. It's a completely different product. It's something that's unique, something that's really cool, something that it's like, yeah, I don't have a phone, but I've got this that's just really cool. I mean, streaming through it and so forth. And just that comparison problem that you have, like that is just, we hopefully are going to eliminate. So we think that it'll fit a need for what's going on right now. So thank you so much for your time. It's good to be back. You guys are awesome. Thank you.